The first sign that everything had gone wrong was the silence. Not the ordinary kind, the hush before dawn. The quiet you feel in deep forests, or the stillness of a ship drifting between distant stars. This silence felt forced, like the entire planet had been holding its breath for far too long. It pressed against the skin, crawled under the ribs, and made every species, human or otherwise, finally understand what fear really meant. Just a week earlier, no one imagined it would come to this. Every species that walked, crawled, slithered, or flew had cast their vote. It was supposed to be a grand moment for the galaxy, a show of unity, a celebration of coexistence. They called it the Dominion Assembly, a meeting in which the countless species of the Orion Reach decided who would officially lead Earth for the next 1,000 years. The idea alone had sounded peaceful, maybe even hopeful. After all, Earth had become the jewel of the coalition, a crossroads of trade, culture, and strange but wonderful diplomacy. But now beings from star systems humans had never heard of were truly begging for mercy. And it all came down to one vote. One species, humanity. People always whispered that humans were unpredictable, too emotional, too daring, too stubborn, too ambitious. But they were also resilient in a way that others found impossible to replicate. They learned from disaster, adapted to chaos, and grew stronger from hardship. Many species respected that. Some feared it. And a few despised it. But when the Assembly gave every species the right to vote for who should command Earth's future, every one of them, without exception, voted for themselves. Not one thought about the cost. Not one thought about the consequences. Not one considered what Earth would become if the contest shifted from ceremony to conflict. At first, it was political posturing, nothing more. Speeches filled with pride. Promises dripping with ambition. Each species claimed they would lead Earth to glory if given control. They argued their biological strengths, their ancient histories, their technological achievements. They tried to charm, persuade, intimidate. Humans watched quietly. They said little, but their silence carried more weight than every boast in the assembly hall. Maybe that should have been a warning. Maybe the others should have realized that when humans became quiet, it rarely meant peace. And then the unimaginable happened. Something triggered a planetary protocol older than the coalition itself. A mechanism buried deep within Earth's core created long before humanity reached the stars awakened. No one had known it existed, not even humans. But the moment the assembly ended, when every species confidently believed their influence would rise, the ancient protocol activated. The sky dimmed, the ground trembled, and a voice, neither human nor alien, echoed across every continent and every ship in orbit. Dominion mode initiated. Panic burst instantly across the assembly. Delegates scrambled. Some ran. Others tried desperately to communicate with their fleets. A few fainted outright. Even the more advanced species froze, unable to comprehend what had just been unleashed. Humans didn't run. They didn't scream. They looked. Puzzled, a few muttered that this had to be an automated defense system left behind by long-lost civilizations. Others whispered that Earth itself, in some strange ancient way, had opinions about who should rule it. But whatever the truth was, one thing became painfully clear. Every species' vote had been interpreted as a challenge Earth intended to answer. In the days that followed, strange events unfolded across the surface. Energy fields rose like shimmering walls of light. Oceans glowed with patterns no one could decipher. Creatures long extinct appeared on satellite scans only to vanish moments later. It was as if Earth were shifting realities, revealing layers of itself no one ever imagined existed. Species who once bragged about their superiority suddenly found themselves unsure of their place. Their technology malfunctioned as if the planet refused to let it operate. Their warriors grew restless. Their leaders whispered of leaving the system entirely, but by then it was too late. Every species had cast their vote. Every species had declared themselves the rightful ruler. And Earth had taken that very personally. The desperation began when the first planetary summons arrived. Delegates from every species were dragged almost into a colossal chamber deep beneath the Pacific. The room wasn't built by humans. It wasn't built by anyone known. Its walls were metallic stone, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Energy drifted overhead like drifting auroras. And at the center stood a platform that glowed with warm, golden light. Representatives from dozens of species stood around it, trembling. Even the fiercest warriors clutched their claws, tendrils, or limbs in fear. Humans stood near the back, watching everything with narrowed eyes. A particularly tall, crystalline species stepped forward. They had been confident once. They had talked endlessly about their intellectual mastery and their superior logic. Now their entire body vibrated, flickering like a dying star. "This is a misunderstanding," they stammered. "We withdraw our vote." The chamber pulsed once. A low, resonant sound filled the air, most like a laugh. "Withdrawal is not permitted," the unseen voice responded. That was when the pleading began. Species known for war cried openly. Species known for diplomacy fell to their knees. Species who claimed they feared nothing suddenly begged for another chance. They swore they didn't want dominion anymore. They swore they only wanted peace. They swore they would never challenge Earth again. And through it all, humans remained strangely calm. One human, a quiet explorer with steady eyes and a voice that carried surprising confidence, finally stepped forward. Something about their presence steadied the room, as if Earth itself were listening. "If the planet wants a ruler," the explorer said softly, "then we need to understand why." The chamber fell silent. A beam of golden light shot down from above, illuminating the human. Behind the explorer, the other species gasped. A few backed away. A few whispered that Earth had already chosen. A few feared what that choice meant. But the explorer did not step back. They simply lifted their chin and asked the question that had been weighing on every mind. "What does Earth want from us?" The chamber pulsed again, the golden light brightening until shadows fled every corner. Then the voice answered slow, ancient, powerful enough to vibrate bone. "Earth wants proof." Those 3 words struck harder than any weapon. Delegates exchanged helpless stares. What did that mean? Proof of what? Strength? Worth? Unity? No one knew. And Earth didn't explain. Instead, the floor beneath the platform began to shift again. Metal plates rearranged themselves into patterns no species recognized. Strange symbols spiraled outward like blooming flowers made of light. The air thickened with energy. Then a circular opening appeared in the middle, deep, wide, and impossibly dark, as if inviting someone to enter. Humans felt the weight of every gaze in the chamber turned toward them. Some species whispered that humanity should decline. Others whispered that humans were the only ones reckless enough to try. And a few, the ones too consumed by fear, muttered that maybe if humans did nothing, Earth's wrath would fade. But the explorer didn't hesitate. They walked toward the platform. Each step echoed like a countdown. Species who had once claimed they would dominate Earth now watched helplessly as a human prepared to enter whatever trial the planet had summoned. Fear pressed against every wall. Lights flickered. The ground vibrated with a low hum. No one spoke. No one breathed. The explorer stood at the edge of the dark, opening, and then the shadows inside shifted. Something moved. Something enormous. Something waking. The explorer froze. The chamber lights dimmed. Every species felt a cold chill run through their bodies, and Earth whispered again, "Let the first test begin." The explorer took a breath. The chamber went silent. And just as they stepped forward, the ground trembled hard enough to knock every species to their knees, leaving the fate of Earth, the trial, and the explorer hanging in the balance. The rumble that tore through the chamber felt alive, as if the planet itself were shifting in warning. Dust drifted from the unseen ceiling above, catching the dim gold light before fading into the shadows. Every species collapsed under the sudden force, trembling as the ground growled beneath them. Only the human explorer remained standing, though even they had to brace themselves as the floor vibrated like a restless beast. For a long moment, nothing moved. No one dared speak. Fear sat heavily in the air, thick enough to taste. The dark opening in the center of the platform pulsed with faint rhythmic light, as if something below was breathing. And the whisper of Earth's last words lingered. Let the first test begin. The explorers stayed still, waiting for the shaking to stop. Their eyes narrowed slightly, not in fear, but in a quiet focus that unsettled the watching species. Humans had always been strange, like that, more troubled by uncertainty than danger, more curious than cautious. It was the same curiosity that had pushed their species to the stars, to unknown worlds, to risks others refused to take. Slowly, the ground settled. The dust cleared. The chamber fell back into its unnatural silence. The delegates recovered awkwardly, limbs folding or stretching as they scrambled to stand. Some of them whispered frantically in their own languages. Others kept glancing toward the human as if hoping or fearing that the explorer would back away from the abyss. But they didn't. They stepped closer instead. The dark opening swallowed almost all light, giving no hint of depth or shape. It looked like a wound in the floor, an entrance carved by something ancient. A faint wind drifted upward, carrying a scent none of the species could identify: damp stone, cold metal, and something older than memory. Behind the group, a short, moss-covered species muttered shakily, "This is madness. No world should behave like this." Another answered in a trembling voice, "This world was never normal." They weren't wrong. Earth had always been a mystery to the rest of the galaxy. Life here evolved too quickly, adapted too easily. Humans spread across the stars with a speed no one expected. The planet produced storms of impossible intensity, forests that grew faster than scans could map, oceans that held more secrets than entire civilizations knew how to study. For years, other species had sensed something beneath the surface, something watching, something waiting. But none of them imagined it would reveal itself like this. The explorer looked back at the others. "You can stay here," they said quietly, voice low but steady. "This part, it's meant for humans." A few delegates flinched as if the words were dangerous. Others shivered, remembering how Earth's light had singled the human out moments earlier. One tall, feathered delegate managed to speak. "You can't go alone." "We don't know what's down there." Explorer kept their eyes on the dark circle. "I think that's the point." They lowered themselves onto one knee, placing a hand gently on the metal rim of the opening. The surface was warmer than the air around it, almost like skin. They felt a faint vibration beneath their palm, a slow, rhythmic thrum that reminded them of a heartbeat. The explorer whispered under their breath, "You're alive, aren't you?" The chamber pulsed faintly, as if responding. Several species gasped and backed away. The explorer glanced up at the group again. "Whatever this is, Earth wants answers. And if humanity has any chance of leading this planet tour, protecting it, we have to face whatever's down there." The mention of leadership spread more unease across the chamber. Only days ago, every species had wanted to rule Earth. Now they couldn't even imagine challenging it. A delegate with shimmering scales spoke in a trembling whisper. "We voted for dominion because we thought Earth was valuable, beautiful, powerful. But this..." They gestured toward the opening. "This is something else entirely. Something beyond us." Another added, voice sharp with fear, "Humans should refuse. If Earth is testing you, it means it doesn't trust you either." The explorer didn't answer right away. They stared into the darkness, letting the weight of that truth settle. The planet was not protecting them. It was not choosing them. It was challenging them, testing them. Humanity was just as vulnerable as every other species. But humans were different. They had grown up on Earth, lived through its storms, survived its disasters, learned from its moods and rhythms. And deep down, humans understood the planet in a way no outsider ever could. They had a connection to this place, one built over countless generations of struggle, discovery, and survival. Finally, the explorer stood. "If Earth wants proof," they said softly, "then someone has to show it." They took one more step toward the opening. A ripple of golden light spread across the floor, as if acknowledging the choice. The other species recoiled. The explorer felt the air shift. The wind rising from the abyss grew stronger, swirling around their legs like invisible hands, urging them forward. They tried to steady their breathing, though their heart thudded hard inside their chest. If the first test began now, there was no turning back. But before they could move, the chamber responded again, this time with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated the bones of everyone present. Symbols along the walls lit up one by one, spiraling outward in patterns too complex to be random. They flickered in greens, blues, and golds, shifting like living constellations. Some species shielded their eyes. Others stared in awe. The symbols themselves felt familiar to the explorer, though they couldn't say why. Something about the shapes tugged at their memory, like echoes of dreams they never remembered having. Then the voice spoke again. Context required. The words rolled like a wave, shaking the air. Before anyone could react, the golden light above the platform shifted, coiling downward into a concentrated beam. It struck the floor beside the opening, and suddenly the metal surface melted away, revealing a shifting image, hologram-like, yet far more vivid. The chamber dimmed. The image brightened. And the past unfolded in front of them. They saw Earth not as it was now, but as it had been long before humans walked across its surface. Continents shaped differently. Oceans wider. Skies thicker, almost purple in color. Strange cities carved from mountains, towers that hummed with unseen energy, lights moving across the land like drifting stars. A civilization older than any record, older than any species present. Gasps echoed around the chamber. The explorer stared, stunned. One delegate whispered, This is impossible." The scene shifted again, showing beings unlike any ever described, long-limbed, graceful, moving with a fluidity that made them seem half shadow, half light. They worked in harmony with the planet, touching the soil and causing flowers to bloom instantly, pressing their palms to stone and shaping it effortlessly, moving oceans, calming storms. A species who lived with Earth, not on it. Then the image changed again. This time, the being stood before a luminous structure deep within the planet, early version of the very chamber. The delegates were now standing in. They activated something. A pulse of energy rippled outward, shaking mountains, shifting seas. A mechanism waking. A safeguard. A warning. A promise. The explorer swallowed hard. It was clear what this civilization had done. They had created the Dominion Protocol, a system meant to test anyone who tried to control Earth. And now, thousands of years later, every species had triggered it. The image flashed once more, this time showing the ancient beings leaving Earth, not fleeing, not dying out, leaving voluntarily, as if Earth asked them to, as if they trusted the future to someone else. The chamber went dark again. The image vanished. A long, heavy silence filled the room. Then Earth spoke. Legacy acknowledged. The golden light shifted back to the opening. The explorer felt their chest tighten. Earth wasn't just testing them, was testing their ability to understand, to respect, to protect the legacy left behind. They stepped once more toward the abyss. A delegate shouted, "Stop. You don't know what the test is." Another choked, "If you fail, we all suffer. Earth will destroy us." The explorer paused, looking back at them with calm, steady eyes. "That's why we can't afford to fail." They placed one foot on the edge. The darkness stirred again. Wind rushed up in a cold burst. And then a deep sound rose from below. Not quite a growl, not quite a roar, something ancient waking fully at last. Every species froze. The explorer drew one slow breath. And just as they stepped into the abyss, the entire chamber tilted. The floor shifting underfoot as if the planet were moving beneath them, leaving every species sliding toward the opening as the darkness swallowed the human whole. The fall into the darkness didn't feel like falling at all. There was no rush of air, no weightlessness, no sense of up or down. It was more like sinking into thick, warm shadows that swallowed every trace of light. For a moment, the human explorer wondered if they were suspended in place, neither moving nor still, caught in a strange space between worlds. Then the ground returned beneath their feet, solid and cold. They opened their eyes, though they weren't sure when they had closed them, and found themselves standing in a vast tunnel carved from dark stone. Soft blue lights glowed along the walls, pulsing gently like quiet breathing. The passage stretched endlessly in both directions, though the air tugged lightly from one side, urging them forward like a faint current. They turned, expecting to see the opening above them, but there was nothing. No chamber, no delegates, no ceiling. Only the long, silent hallway. The test had begun. The explorer steadied their breathing. Panic would only cloud their thoughts. And if Earth truly was watching, they needed to move with purpose. They took a careful step forward, then another, each footfall echoing softly through the empty tunnel. Back in the chamber above, chaos had erupted. Species scrambled to stop themselves from sliding into the abyss. The floor tilted sharply, and some creatures clawed into the walls, while others clung to anything stable. A winged delegate tried to lift off, only to find the air too heavy to gain height. Fear washed through the room. A cluster of small insect-like beings formed a living chain, anchoring themselves to a column of stone. Their leader clicked anxiously. It took the human. The test has started. Another species pressed trembling tendrils to the ground. If the human fails, what happens to us? A tall, horned delegate swallowed. The protocol punished entire civilizations before. We may not survive another failure. No one wanted to say it out loud, but the truth was there in their eyes. Earth was no longer simply a home or a resource. It was an ancient force, awake and judging them. Only one thought unified the terrified assembly: was the human enough? Down in the tunnel, the explorer continued on. The lights shifted subtly as they walked, glowing warmer when they made the right choices at intersections, colder when they hesitated or turned back. It was like being guided and tested at the same time. The path wound deeper into the earth, the air growing cooler and the faint hum of energy surrounding them like a quiet heartbeat as they moved. Memories flickered through their thought storms back home, long nights under stars. Stories passed down through generations about the unpredictability of the world. Humans had always lived close to both beauty and danger. Maybe that was why they weren't as afraid as the others. Earth wasn't something new or mysterious to them. It was home, even when it frightened them, after what felt like hours. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. The ceiling stretched high above, lost in a haze of blue light. Strange structures formed from stone and metal rose along the sides columns. Platforms, spiraling shapes that hummed softly with energy. In the center was a circular pool of liquid black glass. Perfectly still, the explorer approached cautiously. The surface rippled before they touched it. A voice, soft, layered, ancient, filled the chamber, though no mouth spoke it. "Human, state your purpose." The explorer swallowed. Earth asked for proof. "I'm here to show it." The surface of the black pool rippled once more. Then images began to form, brief flashes like fleeting dreams. Humans building shelters, climbing mountains, sailing across oceans. Families working together. People rebuilding after storms. Children laughing in bright sunlight. Then darker images. Wars, fires, broken cities, pollution, fear, and finally, silent moments, hands reaching across divides. Strangers helping each other, people learning, growing. Changing the pool went still. The voice returned. "Earth remembers all." The explorer didn't speak. They waited, unsure if the test required an answer or only understanding. Then the surface of the pool brightened, glowing silver. "Proceed." A new tunnel opened on the far side of the chamber, carved instantly from solid stone. The explorer took a step forward and froze as a faint echo drifted through the tunnel. Not a voice, footsteps, someone else was down here. Meanwhile, above the ground, the delegates argued bitterly. Some believed they needed to send someone else after the human. Others insisted that only humans could complete the test. A few species feared Earth would punish any interference. The tension tightened like a coiled spring as alliances cracked and old grudges resurfaced. One feathered delegate shouted, "Humans brought this on us. If they fail, we should not suffer for their mistake." A reptilian ambassador snapped back, "You voted for Dominion too. Earth is testing all of us." A glowing, translucent species quivered anxiously. Before the vote, Earth was calm. Now it is awake and angry. "We must act together." An armored warrior slammed their fist into the ground. "If the human dies, we die. That is the truth." Silence fell. No one could deny it. All they could do was wait, helpless as the test unfolded beneath their feet. Back underground, the explorer moved quietly toward the sound. The air grew warmer, filled with the scent of dust and old metal. The blue lights dimmed, replaced by faint red glows along the walls. The tunnel bent sharply, then widened into another cavern, but this one was different. Here, ancient machines lined the walls, large metallic structures shaped like half-buried skeletons. Their surfaces pulsed weakly with red energy. Some were cracked. Others were fused into the stone. The hum in the air grew louder, and standing among them a figure. Not human, it stood tall and thin, skin shimmering like liquid bronze. It turned as the explorer approached, its eyes glowing faintly. Its presence alone felt old, as if it had been waiting for centuries. The explorer tensed. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head. "A remnant," it said softly. Its voice sounded tired, ancient, left behind when the first civilization departed. "I was instructed to wake when the protocol began." The explorer stepped cautiously closer. "Why now?" The remnant's eyes flickered. "Because Earth was never meant to sleep forever, and the galaxy was never meant to fight over it." It looked at the machines around it. This place was a heart, a guardian forge. It shaped protectors in the old days. The explorer frowned. Protectors. The remnant nodded. Beings made to defend Earth when it could not defend itself. But they were never used. The world wanted peace. It wanted trust. Its gaze sharpened on the explorer. But when every species voted to rule this planet, Earth awoke the protocol. It must know if any life can understand it. The explorer felt a chill. Is that what the test is? Understanding. Partly, the remnant said, and partly survival. It turned toward a massive, dormant machine. Its red glow brightened slowly, like an ancient creature breathing again. The explorer took a step back. What is that? The second phase of the test, the remnant whispered. Earth will see how you respond when faced with something made to challenge you. The machine groaned, metal shifting. Plates unfolded like wings. Light began to pulse from deep within its core. The remnant stepped aside. The explorer's heart pounded. Wait, why me? Why humanity? The remnant's eyes dimmed, because Earth still believes in you. Then, without warning, the machine's core flared. A beam of red light shot across the chamber. The explorer dove aside as the floor cracked open. Molten stone bubbling beneath. The machine rose fully from its cradle, towering, its limbs unfolding with slow, heavy clicks. Its eyes glowed like burning coals above. The delegates felt the ground tremble again. Panic spread. What is happening now? Someone cried. Another phase. Another whispered. The human must be facing it alone. Below, the machine stepped forward, each movement shaking the cavern. Earth's voice echoed through the chamber. Surrounding the explorer, demonstrate your intent. The machine lunged. The explorer ran. The second test had begun, and far above. Every species held their breath, knowing that if the human failed, mercy would not come for any of them. The machine's steps shook the cavern so hard that dust rained from the ceiling like gray snow. Each heavy clang of metal on stone echoed down the long tunnels behind the explorer, reminding them that there was no easy escape. The narrow pathways they had passed through earlier were now sealed, glowing with that same blue light, as if Earth itself had closed every exit on purpose. The only path left led deeper into the darkness. Toward the unknown heart of the test, the machine advanced with slow, deliberate precision. It didn't rush. It didn't hesitate. It simply moved with the confidence of something built for a single purpose. The red light inside its core pulsed softly, like a distant alarm, and every pulse sent a low hum through the cavern floor. The explorer darted between the ancient machines lining the chamber, searching for any path that might give them an advantage. The old Guardian forges were huge, some broken open, some fused shut. Their shapes looked almost organic, like giant ribs rising from the ground. Maybe they offered cover, but none of them looked like they could stop what was coming. The machine paused for a moment, scanning the cavern with a faint rise of energy. Its eyes glowed brighter, locking onto the explorer's movement. Then it lunged. The explorer dove behind a slanted column of stone, hitting the floor hard but managing to roll into a crouch. The machine's arm slammed into the column a heartbeat later, cracking it with a sharp echo that rattled through the cavern. The column didn't shatter, but deep fractures spread across its surface. The explorer pressed a hand to the stone and felt it quiver. One more hit like that, and it wouldn't hold. They forced themselves to breathe slowly, even though their heartbeat hammered in their ears. This was part of the test. Earth wasn't trying to destroy them, not exactly. It was trying to see what they would do when faced with something powerful and unstoppable. Would they fight blindly? Would they run? Would they give up? The explorers stepped around the cracked column and moved further into the dim chamber, keeping their eyes on the flickering blue lights along the walls. Something about the pattern felt purposeful, not random, not chaotic, almost like a guide. The machine shifted its stance, the joints along its arms and legs unfolding slightly. It moved smoother this time, adapting to the explorer's attempts to evade it. It wasn't just strong, it was learning. Of course you are, the explorer muttered under their breath. Because this wasn't supposed to be easy. Above ground, the delegates felt the tremor of each heavy step. A trembling, translucent species whispered, "The machine is active. Earth is testing destruction." Another snapped back, "No, Earth is testing intent. It wants to see what humans choose when they have nothing but pressure." A creature with plated armor said through clenched jaws, "If the human chooses wrong, we all suffer." Tension thickened the air in the chamber. Every species hovered on the edge of panic, their fear feeding off one another. They felt powerless, trapped above a world beneath their feet that had awakened to judge them. One delegate stepped closer to the abyss, peering down as the darkness churned faintly with blue light. "Should we send someone?" "Another species?" they asked. "No," came a sharp reply. "The test is for them, and if they fail—" Silence. No one had an answer. Back below, the explorer reached the far end of the cavern. A narrow opening stood at the base of the wall, a tunnel sloping sharply downward. Blue lines pulsed along its entrance, brighter than before, guiding, urging, but the machine blocked half the cavern between them and the opening. There was no way around without drawing its attention, no telling how much time the world would allow them. They exhaled slowly and stepped out from cover, the machines. Head snapped toward them instantly, eyes brightening. "All right," the explorer whispered. "Let's see what Earth wants from this." The machine stepped forward, raising one of its arms. The red glow within its core deepened, humming louder. It didn't fire anything. It didn't release heat or energy. It simply radiated pressure, as if testing how the explorer reacted to fear itself. And the explorer realized something important. The machine wasn't attacking. Not directly. It was blocking the path. The test wasn't about strength. It was about choices. The explorer approached slowly, hands open, palms visible. The machine paused, scanning them. The red glow dimmed slightly. "You're not my enemy," the explorer said quietly. "You're the test." The machine tilted its head. The hum from its chest softened. The explorer took one more step. That movement triggered something. A surge of energy rippled through the machine's core, not violent, not harmful, but sudden enough to send a shockwave across the cavern. The ground trembled. Blue lights flickered. The old Guardian forges hummed in response. The tremor raced upward through the tunnels above. The delegates staggered as the floor shook beneath them once more. Several species backed away from the abyss. Fearing the chamber would collapse entirely, the feathered delegate cried out, "Earth grows impatient. The test is escalating." "No," another whispered. The human triggered something new. A shift. A glow rose from the abyss, blue and gold swirling upward like mist. The delegates stared in awe and terror. "Is that the next phase?" Someone breathed, but no voice answered back below. The machine's shift triggered something much larger. A deep rumble rolled through the walls, stronger than before. The cavern seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting subtly. Patterns along the walls lit like veins of light racing outward. The explorers steadied themselves. Bracing against the shock, the machine lowered its arm. The path to the tunnel opened, but before the explorer could move, the remnant appeared again, materializing from the shadows, as if the walls themselves released it. Its shimmering bronze skin glowed in the flickering light. "You're close," it said softly. "The final corridor lies beyond." The explorer nodded. "What's waiting there?" The remnant's expression dimmed like fading light. "The core judgment," the explorer hesitated. "Meaning?" "You will face Earth's memory, Earth's pain, Earth's warnings." The remnant stepped closer, its voice barely above a whisper. "And Earth's future." The explorer felt a chill spread through their chest. "And if I fail?" The remnant looked away. "The protocol resets the cycle. Earth falls silent again." But it will not forget the vote. It will act. The explorer didn't need the rest explained. If they failed, Earth would reject every species. Above ground, the delegates felt the fear rise along their spines. The translucent being whispered, "The human is nearing the core. I can feel it." A small insect-like delegate agreed. "The energy is shifting. Earth is preparing something." A deep-boomed voice replied, "A verdict." But no one knew what that verdict would be. Back below, the explorer took their first step toward the tunnel. The machine watched but did not follow. Instead, it slowly folded its limbs and sank back into the floor, the metal plates closing over its form like petals around a glowing flower. The red light faded, and the machine vanished beneath the stone as if it had never been there. The tunnel ahead pulsed with gold light now, brighter than before, almost urgent. The explorer stepped inside. The passage was narrow, warm, alive. It felt like walking through the inside of a massive creature. The walls shifted subtly with each heartbeat-like pulse. The air thickened, carrying a low hum that vibrated through the bones. As the explorer walked, memories, visions began drifting through the tunnel like floating dust. Earth in chaos. Floods, quakes, wildfires, not from humanity, but from ancient ages before them. The world remembering storms that tore continents apart. The world remembering extinctions that reset whole eras. Then came visions of life small. Fragile creatures emerging after each disaster, climbing, swimming, flying toward the light. Earth rebuilding itself again and again. Earth enduring, Earth waiting, finally. The tunnel widened until the explorer stepped into a massive sphere. It was the heart of the Toot Protocol. The chamber glowed with soft gold light, but the center held a shape like a suspended sonosphere of swirling energy, pulsing gently like a giant heartbeat. It filled the space with warmth and quiet, power that pressed lightly against the skin. Earth's voice echoed through the chamber. "Human, this is the core." The explorer approached. Slowly, the sphere brightened. Your species did not seek dominion. Yet you were chosen. Yet you were tested. The explorer swallowed hard. "I didn't come here to rule. I came because you asked for proof. And proof you must give," Earth replied. The sphere rotated slowly, shifting from gold to deep blue. Your world witnessed the vote. Every species sought control, not cooperation, not unity. The explorer lowered their gaze, understanding the weight of those words. The sphere dimmed. Now you must answer one question, one choice, one truth. The ground trembled beneath the explorer's feet. Lights surged around the sphere. Every species above felt the shockwave race upward, shaking the chamber where they waited. "What is happening?" Someone shouted. "The final phase." Another cried. "Earth is demanding the answer." Below, the sphere brightened until it filled the chamber with blinding light. The explorers shielded their eyes as Earth's voice rose, deeper and more powerful than before. "Humans speak the intention of your species." The chamber shook violently. The light intensified. The explorer stepped forward, heart pounding, every thought collapsing into the pressure of the moment. And just as they opened their mouth to speak, the sphere surged outward in a brilliant flash of light, swallowing the chamber whole. The light swallowed everything so completely that the explorer couldn't see their own hands. It wasn't painful or blinding, just overwhelming, like stepping into the heart of a star. Sound vanished. The ground disappeared. Even the sense of breathing felt distant. For a moment, the world was nothing but warmth and brightness. Then the light softened. Shapes drifted into view. The explorer found themselves standing in a wide Open field beneath a sky that looked almost real blue with streaks of soft white cloud. The air smelled of damp grass. A warm breeze brushed across the skin. It felt like Earth, but different. Peaceful in a way the real world rarely was. The sphere of light had vanished. In its place stood an old tree, roots twisting deep into the ground, branches stretching outward like welcoming arms. Leaves shimmered with faint gold light. The explorer stepped closer. There was no machine here, no remnant, no ancient structures, only the tree and the stillness around it. Then the voice returned quiet now, almost gentle. This place is memory and hope. The explorer looked around slowly. Where am I? In the final space of the protocol, Earth answered, where your intention must become truth. A faint tremor passed through the grass. Like the ground breathing. You stand here alone, Earth continued. But what you say now reaches every species. The explorer's chest tightened. They're listening. Yes, above ground, the delegates froze as the chamber filled with soft, golden light. The walls glowed with faint images field sky, the silhouette of a lone human standing before a glowing tree. Every species fell silent, instinctively understanding that this was the end of the test. The feathered delegate whispered, Earth is showing us the final choice. A low-voiced warrior murmured, Let us pray the human chooses well. Back within the illusion of the field. The explorer placed a hand gently against the tree's trunk. It was warm alive in a way that pulsed through there. Fingers. Earth's voice echoed again. Human, what does your species intend toward this world? The explorer swallowed. This wasn't a question about dominance. It wasn't a question about control or power. Earth didn't care about claims or titles. This was about responsibility, and humanity's answer would decide whether. Earth trusted the man, whether the galaxy survived what came next. The explorer took a slow breath. Humans want to belong, they said softly, not rule. The breeze stilled slightly, as if listening. We want to protect our home. We want to learn. We want to grow. We make mistakes, yes, but we try to fix them. We keep trying, even when everything falls apart. The tree glowed faintly, its leaves rustling in a way that felt almost like approval. We don't seek dominion over Earth, the explorer continued. We seek partnership. We always have. The wind stirred again, brushing through the glowing leaves. And as for the other species, the explorer added, voice steady, we don't want to rule them either. We want peace. We want cooperation. We want a future where no one has to fear this world or each other. For a moment, the field went completely silent. Then the ground brightened with a soft, golden pulse. Your intention is acknowledged, Earth said, and tested. The tree's glow intensified, spreading outward through the field, lifting the grass in shimmering waves. The sky deepened into a rich blue, streaks of gold swirling like drifting stars. The explorer stepped back, heart pounding. Have I passed? A warm breeze rolled through the field. Humanity has shown sincerity, Earth replied. But intention alone is not proof. The explorer froze. I don't understand. You must demonstrate unity, Earth said. Not only for your species, but for all who sought dominion. The light rippled outward, and suddenly the field dissolved. The explorer was standing back in the core chamber, though everything had transformed. The golden sphere hovered once more, glowing softly. The floor pulsed with energy. And around the chamber, now visible through translucent walls, the delegates above could be seen watching, their shapes shimmering like distant reflections. Earth spoke louder now, its voice echoing through every layer of the planet. All species, hear this. The delegates straightened, fear gripping them once more. You sought dominion over this world. You claimed superiority. You acted from ambition, pride, and desire for power. The chamber trembled slightly, but a world cannot be ruled by pride. Golden light spiraled around the explorer like a rising storm. This human entered the protocol not to lead, but to understand, not to conquer, but to protect. Their intention reflects the possibility of harmony. The delegates exchanged nervous glances, but harmony must be shared. Earth demands unity. A sudden wave of warmth filled the chamber above. Every species felt it, not painful, not frightening, just overwhelming. Like the weight of truth pressing onto their hearts. Earth continued, its voice deeper now. You must decide. Will you stand with humanity as partners in protection? Or will you stand apart as challengers? A ripple of panic spread through the delegates. Many species had come to Earth seeking advantage. Now they realized what Earth truly wanted: cooperation, not control. A small, trembling, insect-like delegate was first to speak. We stand with humanity. A taller, crystalline species followed. We do not want dominion. We want peace. Another species nodded. If humans can pass a test like this, then they are worthy allies. One by one, voices joined, hesitant at first, then steadily growing. We stand with humanity. We reject dominion. We choose unity. The chamber brightened with each vow below. The explorer watched as the shimmering reflections of the delegates glowed brighter, their words rising like distant echoes. Hope stirred inside them, not for victory, but for understanding. Earth absorbed the promises, and the golden sphere pulsed once more. Unity acknowledged. A warm wave spread through the chamber, soothing and calm. The protocol ends. The sphere gently dissolved into thousands of tiny particles of golden light that floated upward like glowing dust. The chamber grew brighter as the walls shimmered and softened. Then everything shifted. The explorer felt the floor vanish beneath them, but this time, instead of falling, they were lifted. A warm light wrapped around their body, spinning them upward with a gentle force. Above. The delegates gasped as the core sent a beam of golden light up through the abyss, carrying the humans safely toward the surface. The ground beneath them leveled, the light softening into a welcoming glow. The explorer emerged in the chamber above, standing on solid ground once more. The delegates stared in stunned silence. The insect-like leader was the first to move. They approached slowly and bowed their head. You have saved us all. Others followed, offering quiet words of gratitude, relief, and respect. The feathered delegate trembled visibly. We did not understand Earth. You did. The explorers shook their head. Earth didn't want a champion. It wanted truth. A gentle hum echoed through the chamber. The delegates fell silent as Earth spoke once more, its voice calm, steady, and warm. Species of the Orion Reach, humanity has shown understanding. You have shown willingness for unity. This world accepts your presence, but its future must be shared. A soft glow filled the room. Protect Earth, protect one another, and remember, this dominance leads to ruin. Cooperation leads to life. The golden light faded. The chamber slowly returned to normal, still ancient, still mysterious, but no longer threatening. The tilt of the floor settled completely. The blue lines dimmed to a gentle pulse. The opening to the abyss sealed over with a smooth surface. It was done. The protocol had ended. The delegates slowly dispersed, each species returning to their ships with a new understanding of Earth and of humanity. No one spoke of domination anymore. Instead, they discussed cooperation, balance, and shared responsibility. The threat that once hung over Earth like a shadow had lifted. That the explorer stepped out into the sunlight hours later, breathing in the cool air. The sky looked brighter. The wind felt softer. The world seemed awake in a new way. They stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Waves rolled against the rocks with steady rhythm. The horizon stretched wide and endless. They whispered to themselves, "You watched. You tested. Now you trust." A faint breeze brushed past, warm and gentle, almost like an answer. The explorer smiled. Earth was no longer silent, and from that day forward, every species in the galaxy remembered the moment they pleaded for mercy, and discovered something far more powerful than dominion. They discovered unity and humanity. Once doubted and underestimated, stood at the center of it not as rulers, but as guardians of a world that finally spoke back. The story of the Dominion. Protocol became a reminder across the stars. No species could claim Earth, but together, they could protect it, and that was enough.